These are the two engine studs, one in the front, one in the back. And on this model bike, they're the same length and the same diameter. And then here's the mounting hardware. There's a set of spacers that go on the end of each rod. And then you've got a set of nuts and wave washers to keep those nuts secure. So I'm ready to put the engine in the frame, and this is my newly powder coated frame for the 1983 R100RS, and it came out very nice. I've wrapped the frame tubes with a type of bubble wrap to protect them when I go to put the engine in. And what I'm going to do is pick the engine up and basically maneuver it into the frame, and then I should be able to pull the frame up a little bit when the engine's in it and slip the engine mounting studs through the frame and the engine block. Now the engine's a little front heavy, so I just put a little 2x4 up under the edge of the inner timing cover to keep it steady, and then I'll go over and straddle it, pick it up, and slide it into the frame. Now I've slid the engine toward the front of the frame and put my 2x4 back up under the inner timing cover so the engine won't tip. And then here is where the rear engine mount's going to go through. It goes through this tube, and down here is the hole. So there's a spacer that I will put inside as I slide the stud through the hole. And then I'll put the spacer on the other side and guide the stud through the other hole. So I have the rod part way through, and that's the bushing on this side. And I'm going to put this bushing in over here, and then I'm going to use a plastic hammer to drive the rod through, and that should get the rear mount on. And there'll be a little finagling on the frame to get everything to line up, but it should drive through. So now I'm going to install the front rod, which goes through this hole in the frame and this hole in the block. The nice part is that the frame now pivots up and down, so it's not so hard to put this together. The more difficult piece is getting the spacer in the right location. So I'm going to try to catch it with the rod and then tilt the frame up and push the rod through the hole. It's a tight clearance. Yeah, not quite the first time. We'll try it the second time. There, it's just on the edge of the rod. See if I can slide it up. Yep, there it goes. And then I'll go over to the other side and slide in the second bushing, and the engine will be mounted in the frame. So now that the engine is secure in the frame with the two engine studs, I have not put the nuts and the wave washers on those studs yet, but I don't need to do that to put it onto my Harbor Freight motorcycle stand. I like to put a piece of plywood across the feet and then when the oil pan sits on top of that plywood, the weight of the engine is going to be uniformly pushing up on the bottom of the oil pan, so there won't be any high stress areas. And all I need to do is pick the engine with the frame up off the floor by the spine tube and just put it on top of the plywood. So I have the frame and engine strapped down on the motorcycle lift, and that's kind of where it's going to be for a while until I get the tires and wheels mounted, which is going to take a little bit because there's quite a few more things to do on this project. So I'm torquing up the engine stud nuts, and on this model they go to 55 foot-pounds. There we go. And then I'll get the front one next.